Welcome to Try This at Home. I'm Cliff Bumgardner.
I am still Harrison Stewart.
Our
Didn't say my last name last time, but you know,
still counts.
Who cares?
Still counts.
Who cares? You know, surnames.
Our myths this week are breaking glass, a rolling stone gathers no moss, and shop vac jet engine. It originally aired January 12th, 2005. It was produced by friend of the show, Andrew Farrell, and it was written by a new and very important name in myth-busting history, Dan Tapster. So as far as I know, this is the first time we've seen Dan's name in the credits. We may have missed it previously, but as far as I know, this is the first one, and that is a big deal because Dan would go on to be the showrunner behind the rest of Mythbusters. I mean, at a certain point, he takes over the show, and a lot of what you remember from the show, a lot of the biggest episodes, and the full run all the way to the end was run by Dan Tapster. So very cool.
It's interesting
to see his name pop up.
I would say that one of the biggest things that I noticed was like a market uptick in production values.
The show keeps doing that, right?
We can talk about it, but like, I should also note, perhaps this happened when I was gone, but like particularly the animations were like really clean and indulgent in this episode.
Yeah.
Loved it, but I wasn't expecting to see like a full 10, 15-second animation at one point. It's like, all right, cool.
The show is so like satisfying to watch now. It has become like all of those early little like, oh, that was weird, or why are things done this way, or that's strange. They have cleaned all of that up, and at this point, it is just a super fun show to watch. I thought this episode was great.
I did too. Do you know when Scotty is done?
I think we're coming up on it. In the next couple of weeks. I think we might no longer be seeing Scotty. But, you know, positives and negatives, we do very soon get to meet Grant Imahara for the first time. So we're coming up on that. It'll be sad when Scotty's no longer on the show, but we are getting close to that final formulation of Mythbusters coming together, which was until the very last season of the show. That was the lineup: Adam, Jamie, Cary, Grant, and Tori. So we're getting close, and it feels like Mythbusters.
We are absolutely closing in.
Something...
It does feel a lot like again. I know we keep saying that we're getting closer to like the style and the feel that we remember, but I feel like we're fully in it now.
Oh yeah, 100%.
And that's shocking to only be in season 2.
I
think we've decided once and for all. This is season 2.
It's actually labeled season 3 on everything that we have.
I know. I'm ignoring it.
Making my life a living hell.
Yeah. I'm not look, Cliff, when you came to me, I'm fairly certain at least a sub article of my mandate was to give you hell nonstop.
Yeah, that's true.
And I believe I've delivered.
Oh,
if
100%.
I'm not mistaken.
Yes. Oh,
listener,
100%.
let us know if I have not delivered. And if I hear nothing, I'll assume I'm doing great. Thank you very much.
4 stars for Harrison's.
Yes.
One thing that did feel different about this episode as opposed to some others is this the most confirmed myths we've had in a single episode, except for like not counting like mini myths. We had 2 of the 3 main stories in this myth are not only confirmed, they're like across the board 100% legit confirmed. Not plausible, we're all the way there. It was really satisfying to see things just like work, which we're not really used to seeing.
That's true. The interesting thing is that they didn't at all work. Like this episode they were plagued. But the trade-off in that is that we got to see them kind of adapt and readjust, which was just as interesting to watch and ended up, I don't know, kind of strengthened the episode for me. When you told me that we were going to be testing moss growth, can't say I was particularly excited. Not gonna lie to you. But damn if they didn't pull it off.
Myth 1. Can a singer break glass. Can you
This is
break
my favorite.
glass using nothing but your voice? I agree. This is a classic myth. This is the footage where this goes. The footage of them breaking these glasses was used from here to eternity on Mythbusters. It's one of the myths that I think of, comes to mind immediately when I think of like classic Mythbusters myths. This was awesome. The idea being that this is a story attributed to an opera singer who knows exactly the right tone and can be used to actually break glass. And this is a story that I feel like I saw it in cartoons and you would see it everywhere for years and years. But interestingly, I thought it was very cool that they say at the top that this will be, if they can make it work, this will be the first time that, as far as they can tell, it's ever actually been captured on camera. That was some great
wild.
stakes for this myth, and I loved it.
Yeah. And we're still in the like pre-smartphone era where that's like a viable thing.
Good point.
You know what I mean? Like there's so many things now where it's like no one's ever caught this on. Yes, they have. If it's doable, if it's doable like this, someone's got it.
Yeah.
Determining what is real and what is not is its own separate category, but this is just on the cusp. You know, just before YouTube and all that. So it was, I don't know, it's kind of cool to see a last hurrah for the myths that you would. This was one of those I was like, well, how do we not know that? You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
it just seems like cumulative knowledge would have given us that answer in a way that they were like, it's never been done on camera though.
It also goes back to what we haven't talked about this in a while, but it came up a lot during the pilots and the early episodes of that pre-Mythbusters world. I feel like this is a story, as I said, saw it in cartoons, you saw it other places. It's kind of like an idiom in some ways, and like it comes up a lot. But I also feel like this show made this famous in a lot of ways. Like I feel like for our generation, when you hear that and go, wait, how do we not know that? We partly know it, I think, because of this show. Like they were the first to do it.
At least on camera.
Yeah.
Sure. I'm taking them at their word.
You know, they had a lot of
certainly don't.
stories of people who had claimed to do it, that some of which couldn't be verified or
again,
some came up and were not true.
Again, missing you, Heather Joseph, with them.
I know.
This is. I love now that I can like see parts of episodes where I'm like, you know who we should have thrown to right here.
Right.
Just saying. Just golly, what if there were some sort of expert on lore of the folks? You know what I mean? Where could we find such a gal?
Oh, our own show from like a year ago? We could have found.
What's up? No, that's not. We're not going back, baby. I know. You mean Buster. We cut to Buster. Buster free app. Buster free app.
Yes,
Woo!
I know. You know,
notice this?
last week
I didn't until just now, but Buster free app.
Well, it's funny. It's funny you say that. I actually did have a note about that because last week I mentioned the fact that we were going to get something new to you, something that you were not here when we covered it on the podcast. And then I forgot and I was like, oh, we'll talk about it this week. And this week there's no Buster. But we have a new Buster. We actually, now in the run of the show, is Buster 2.0, the remade Buster that they actually built themselves in the shop and is used throughout the end of the series, has been introduced. And we saw it a couple of weeks ago, I believe, when Chris Lee was here on the show. And but yeah, you have yet to see new Buster because he's not in this episode.
Heresy. How dare you speak against the one true Bust? Another Buster.
Here's the thing.
You stop that.
He has the same face. They kept his face.
Okay, all good.
So it still feels like Buster.
That's all we need. As long as it's the same face. It is still at the core, it is the essence of Buster.
Buster
do you
Theseus.
believe Do you believe Buster flows from the Father Buster or is he co-eternal? These are questions, Buster-logical questions that are super important. I hope there's there, and it won't be more than one, and even that listener will only half like it. But I hope that there is one listener that's out there. Christology joke, nice. I get it. It's not good, but I get it. Thank you.
Some theology
Thank you.
professor out there is like, well done.
Yeah, gives a you know, like it's not a laugh. It's just a little acknowledgement, a tight lip.
And that's what
That's
we
all I
strive
want.
for.
That's all I want. If we ever do the show live, I want a room full of tight-lipped humps. That's it. All I want for an hour and change.
And we're well on our way.
I don't feel like it's a lot to ask, Cliff. I'm not gonna lie to you. I feel like it's a pretty maybe like 3 people in a room. That would be. I was about to say dudes. I don't want to limit us like that. You don't got to be a dude. Cliff, I'm gonna say it right now. This is not a dudes only podcast.
There you go.
Boom.
I support this. Our demographic numbers on the back end don't, but I support this idea.
Well, that's what we're. It's called growth. Look it up, sweetie. Look it up. This guy. Unreal. Okay, so you were saying something for sure.
Well, the science on this is a fun thing to kind of get stuck in for a minute because I really enjoyed the way that they broke this down and where it goes. And the idea of this whole myth is it's not just like the force of your voice can break the glass. It is actually about looking for the resonant frequency of the glass, the frequency at which it most efficiently translates sound waves into physical movement. So if you play the resonant frequency back at the glass, it can actually cause the glass to vibrate until it breaks. That is what this myth is about. And the cool thing about that is I remember that from watching this. Like I learned those principles from this show, and seeing it again was really, really cool. But I love the way that they address that and then break that down in each subsequent test throughout the myth. It was just really good. It felt like really good science, honestly, the way they kind of approached it in this episode and walked through it.
Yeah. I didn't know any of that. I don't know how one would know that. Actually, that's not, I don't know. I feel like that may have been in like a physics textbook.
Oh, probably. Yeah.
Because I definitely remember the whole thing with like the waves going out and the squiggly lines coming back. I never knew what it meant. My understanding was exactly what I've laid out to you just now, but cool visual. I liked it.
They start out testing it with a speaker, with actually amplified sound. And initially, they're just playing what they believe to be the resonant frequency back at the glass. And they have to mess around with it a bit and do some, sound science. But eventually, they actually get to the point where they can make the glass vibrate super fast. And I had one of those moments of, God, they're so smart at the way that they translate things visually. Putting the straw in the glass. Changes the whole episode. Like
it does.
The moment that they do, it ends up becoming actually really important later on. It's like a measure of how close they're getting to finding the right frequency. But as soon as they did that, I was like, these guys, it's one of those Mythbusters touches of
guys.
Here's how we're gonna make this visual, and it's so good.
You got it. You just got it clean. Now, also, they're not just doing this. They wouldn't just do this out of nothing. They need to call in a specialist of sorts.
Yes, I cannot believe I neglected our friends.
You think I would let you? No.
Didn't you refer to them as the sound nerds last week?
I did, and I regret it now because I want to have them. I want to get Roger Schwanke.
I would love to have Roger Schwanke on the show. Roger, if you're out there.
Desperately.
The guys go back to Myers.
He's going to do his little computer magic or whatever he does.
I should try to find Roger.
Maybe they'll respond.
With a name like Roger Schwanke, it can't be too difficult. If he's out there, I'll find him. Really completed a hat trick with this one. That's 3 amazing myths. The prior 2 being do duck quacks echo. You've got the brown note, and now broken glass. I mean, he's 3 for 3. That's impressive. So much so that when they introduce him, they actually say like they're honorary Mythbusters by now, which I think is the first time that they have said that about somebody. That becomes a running thing on the show as they bring these characters, all the honorary Mythbusters that come back throughout the years. But I think Roger and the Meyer sound folks are maybe the first one.
This episode is like, because I can at least think of one other random person that just absolutely understands the assignment in this, and I love that they're like infecting people almost.
Yes.
With that, where they walk in, someone's like, "You want to blow something up, don't you? You want to see it go boom. You want it to be in individual constituent parts from the whole that it is now. I can help with this. That's something I can do."
You need giant.
And that makes me happy.
You need giant speakers make a guy poop his pants. We got that.
We got giant speakers. Whether or not you poop your pants is up to you, sir.
To each their own.
I mean, everybody knows the joke. The obvious joke would have been for Adam to just poop his pants anyway, but it's true. It's right.
We could just.
I would poop my pants for that. Are you kidding me? Like that's
I've done it for less.
To confuse. Right. I have pooped my pants for considerably less than confusing scientists for years to come. that is such a magnanimous goal. Like, you're telling me you wouldn't poop your pants for that? Dog. I don't know what to tell you. I guess you're not a team player. I guess you're just not. I guess you're not in this.
I just don't. I don't want to know how they would make that visual for the television show.
Show it. Don't even try to edit it.
So straw in a different place is what what I've got going on in my head right now.
We're going to start in a white room. I'll tell you that much. We're going to start in a completely white room.
Jamie's white shirt. That's the testing platform.
No, Jamie's wearing nothing but a diaper, dude. You're thinking too small. You're thinking entirely too small. I want this to be an art piece. I want this to confuse and excite people and them to be angry about the fact that they don't know which. That's what I want. I want to make them feel something.
I'm really glad.
And smell something. All right, I'm done.
I'm glad that they chose to do the brown note myth out on a runway and not in this really cool like theater that they use in this episode.
This thing was awesome.
It was so cool because they used two. They have the one later on, but first they have the like soundproofs, like really awesome. I guess it's at Meyer Sound studio. This place is so cool. It's like another great addition to that world that we love in Mythbusters. And they figure out this was one of those moments. I do my best to like capture the science and try to follow along so that I can relate it here on the podcast. They get to a moment where Roger's like, I think I know what it is. And he starts explaining that they're going to put a board in front of the speaker and they're going to cut a hole in the board. And essentially they're going to use it to focus the sound, I guess. But he explains why, and I picked up none of it.
Sure,
something sounds something.
But that he comes up with this idiotic looking thing.
Yeah. And
this thing that you're just like, you know, the dumbest kid in class, that would have been his suggestion. And then it just works. You're going to tell me that's not a sound nerd?
Well, is
that what you're trying to say right now?
I mean, that's the first time in this episode when I was talking earlier about how it's crazy to just see things work. Yeah, they struggle with this a little bit, but when they figured out this technique with putting the hole in the board and putting that in front of the speaker, the glass breaks immediately. Like they shot it.
Like it was almost like they weren't trying.
Yeah.
You know? I mean, like it was like there was no build up or anything. And at that point I was like, you know, I'm not a smart man and I need to stop thinking that the schwank doesn't know his sound. He does. I just looked at it. He performed an acoustic miracle, and I just need to kind of, you know, take a back seat and not backseat drive.
I thought,
because I don't know science.
The progression in this myth was one of the best that we've seen. We've had that critique in the past where they just like jump from one thing to another, or they seem to miss a step along the way. Starting with it being amplified, moving up to figuring it out, cutting the hole, boom, the glass breaks, and you have that great moment of, oh, can this work? Like, this is actually going to work? They're actually going to do this? And then they progress to getting a singer in, and they just keeps going. It's another one of those, like, the storytelling is so good. By the time this one was over, all I wanted was to see that friggin' glass break. You know,
true.
it was just so satisfying to get to see that happen when they get there. They get there.
Well, because Adam is able to do it with amplification and all of that, but they proved that just like a normal person
Yeah.
with no real extended vocal training can accomplish it.
And they bring in
That was cool.
They bring in a cool guy. It's this the first time we've ever had a second Jamie on the show. So I'm gonna call this guy Rock Jamie.
Oh, not Jamie 2? Jamie squared?
I like Rock Jamie because he looks like he's from Dream Theater or
Well,
something.
he's not made of rocks.
Fair enough, Harrison. He's not made of rocks, and that is the only kind
So
of rock.
it's a misnomer.
Yeah.
It doesn't work. Like, God, you have to be so embarrassed right now. Guy thought he was made of rock.
We're
All
talking.
right, continue. Rock Jamie, I guess.
We're speaking, of course, of rock singer. Do you have a problem with that? Does he sing
Didn't
about
know
rocks?
can sing. I just. Yay!
This
And it only
man's-
took 21 seconds or 21 minutes, maybe seconds, to break clip.
This
a new
man's
record,
name
folks.
is Jamie Vendera. I looked Jamie up. He is still around. He is a vocal coach, professional singer and vocal coach, and who has apparently actually innovated a lot of like vocal techniques. And that's sort
Ooh,
of his
cool.
claim to fame is various ways of teaching people and various techniques that people can use to do stuff with their voice, which makes him the perfect guy to bring in on this. And you can tell right away he knows the assignment. Like
Yeah.
he's one of the most like in terms of all the experts and people we've seen come in, those honorary Mythbusters characters, like he fits right in immediately, knows exactly what he's going to do, and is completely confident that he's going to be
Yes.
able to pull this off. Down
The
to like
most confident.
he's critiquing the different crystal wine glasses that they're using. I mean, this dude knows his stuff. I
He's got to
really,
find the right one.
yeah,
You know?
And he's trying multiple ones, and he's like, "Oh, this one's deader than this one." Like, awesome. It was like watching like it's like the same satisfaction of like watching a cooking show with a a really well trained chef who's like, "Oh, I can pick up every detail." And it's that, but for sound and like the
Yeah.
human voice. That was cool to me. I like this guy a lot.
Well, so much so that you're like, ain't no way he's like real, you know?
Yeah.
Like, I mean, it at first it comes off a little blowhardy, and then
He earns it.
by golly, he did it. He did it, man. I watched it. You watched it. I also a lot. You kind of hinted at this earlier, but they build the tension exceptionally well.
Yes.
To where like I did not, because I don't remember this one, I did not know which way it was going to break.
Yeah.
Break meaning like right or left. That was poor choice of word. But when he finally does get it to break, it's just not only was it thrilling, the slow-mo was the best I've seen on the show.
It's
I think.
fantastic.
When I just kind of broke off there for a second, I was like running through the other ones. I was like, no, I don't know that there's another one that was more like. Now, granted, this is obviously a much nicer and newer high-speed camera than they had earlier in the show, but oh man, watching like being. You can catch like half a second
Yeah.
of the line moving through and then just
You know, it's funny hearing you say that. Made me think
awesome.
about. I think I actually prefer the smaller scale high speed shots like this versus like explosions and stuff
the big
dropping.
explosions.
Yeah. And it's probably partly because they're still in the era where the explosions they can't slow it down enough. And so it's just like a slightly slower explosion, but you're not seeing all that detail. Well, when you get these close up, and also they're further away. So with this, the camera can be right up on it, and you can, like you said, you can see every single detail. The glass wobbling.
You can see it wobbling.
It looks they say it looks like Jello at one point, and they're right. Like it looks that
right.
soft, like it's just
Yeah.
around the. Oh my god, it's so good.
it really it looks like the glass itself is like made of water or something. And then you can even see like his lips vibrating like afterward.
Yes.
This is it. For me, this is the top shot of the show thus far.
It's great.
Especially when you give all of the background of building up to the moment.
Yep.
It felt like we earned it. It
Yeah.
felt like we had gone through all the steps that by the time you present us with this information, home run.
I also love that it doesn't happen right away. I love how much of the process they put in of him trying it, putting a glass down, trying it, putting a glass down, back and forth. He takes a break at one point, and Adam tries it, which is funny.
And Adam,
Just because he even has a line about like, well, I'm gonna embarrass. My job is to embarrass myself, so I might as well give this a whirl. And he goes for it, and then comes back and finally like gets his groove and shatters that thing with nothing but his voice. I did love that instead of safety glasses, he's wearing sunglasses. Because he's a rock star.
I didn't even notice. I did. Honestly, I just assumed that they didn't come off.
Yeah.
He was born
The glasses
with shades.
stay on.
He was born with shades, hair at that length. Like that's how he came out. That's how he's gonna go. And he's exactly right. Well done, Rock Jamie.
Rock Jamie.
That means.
Well, thanks to Rock Jamie, this one was confirmed and just awesome. First time, as far as we know to this day, it seems like it was true. It was the first time this was ever actually captured on camera. I feel like, at least in my memory, maybe we can talk to Andrew Farrell or Adam Savage or someone. I feel like this was an important step in the show because I think this is the kind of thing that people remember the show for, and this being a first feels like a really big deal. But either way, it's just an awesome, awesome myth.
It rocks.
There we go. I did it! Wow.
Well, there you go.
That was great!
You have graduated. You are now a full vocalist.
Oh, that's incredible!
Myth 2, a rolling stone gathers no moss. Now, this is another...
Also a rock myth in a way.
You're very, very true. I didn't even put that together. And also another record breaker. They say at the head, this is the longest experiment in Mythbusters history to this point in the show. So, big stuff happening at this point now.
Not really. That's like, no, I'm sorry. I was kind of laid all my cards down on that one. They kept, so this one reminded me of the one last week. I actually can't remember which one it is, but they had to kind of keep explaining why it was cool.
Oh yeah.
And it's like, I mean, it's interesting, I suppose, but like the emphasis that they kept laying on this took 6 whole months. Like, so it's going to be like really cool to look at. There's nothing really to look at, Like, and they did everything they could from like painting the machine to, having a little drama involved. But this one never came together for me.
Really?
Mainly because this is another one that I at least like that they did specify, because when they first introduced it, I was like, I hate this because that's not a myth. But they do open with that. They say like this is kind of a proverb or
It's an idiom. It's like needle in a haystack.
An idiom. Yeah, dang it! I think I had the exact same complaint about needle in a haystack. Maybe I'm just impossible to please.
I think it is interesting. The idioms and the basically figures of speech versus actual testable stories is something that I feel like is not a tension on the show, but they're very different. Like they're putting both of those ideas into the Mythbusters format, but they actually are pretty different in the sense that the glass, the breaking the glass is something that is sort of meant to be proven. This is not ever intended to be. It's just a saying that people have, and they take it and apply science to it. I like that. I like kind of the over serious treatment of a ridiculous thing is sort of just up my street. But I can also see this is not, these types of myth are certainly not as science-based or as maybe narrative as some others. So I can see that.
No. I guess more what I agree with all of that. I think if when we get one that is busted, then I will be more inclined to like retroactively be a little. It's just right now. This is what the second time that they've done this. It just feels like with these, it's like, well, why would it be a truism if it wasn't the case? You know what I mean? Like it seems like they're specifically picking ones that are so like self-evidently true that it's odd to spend so much time on them. But having said that, there was a moment where I was like, well, I don't know plants like that. Maybe they're into it. I don't think they are, but maybe.
And see, I feel like part of the thing there is exactly to what you said in the last myth. I feel like this is the kind of thing that was made for Heather Joseph Witham.
Ooh.
If you had that
definitely.
element, you had her coming in to talk about, because they never really, I mean, I know that a Rolling Stone gathers no moss is an old saying and it's pretty self-evident, but I actually would have liked to have heard more of a breakdown of where that came from, or, you know, her talking about it in common usage and how
That
it plays
actually
into
goes back
things.
to Chaucer when he said, you know, like,
Yeah,
that
exactly.
was-
Like I would have loved a little bit more of that, because they even get into this whole discussion throughout the myth of, is it about gathering moss? Is it if you roll a stone down a hill, it doesn't pick any moss up? Or is it actually about moss growing on it? Which I cited on the to me, the idiom is about keep moving so nothing sticks to you. Like keep, you know, you're not going to sit there and grow old if you keep moving, you know, keep moving, keep learning, whatever. So to me,
Wait, ooh. Okay.
Do we
very
differ here?
interesting. Very much so.
okay. Well, maybe there's more to this idiom than we thought.
No, I feel like I'm wrong though. I mean, I'll say what I always thought it meant.
Okay.
But that's not at all. I always thought that it was kind of a way of saying like plant your roots somewhere. Like if you're constantly moving and going around, you'll never like have a real home that you belong to. And then the Rolling Stones, the band, did their name specifically in opposition to that, to be like, man, screw that. Like, you gotta get out there and keep it moving and
That's
that kind of
interesting.
stuff. So I let's look it up. Because
Yeah.
that is and wow, I just proved myself wrong, because I was just like, it's so self-evident, like everybody knows it. And I could very well be incorrect.
Well,
about this.
okay, here's the thing. According to Google, and I'm not really going any further than that, so we're going to take Google's word for it. It's a proverb that a person who does not settle in one place will not accumulate wealth, status, or responsibilities
Boom.
or commitments. Interesting. But I still think you could take that either way, right? You could take that. You
definitely
could take
could.
that as a negative, or you can take it in, like you said, the Rolling Stone sense of, well, no, you're not. If you keep going, you're not going to have commitments. You're not going to have anything to weight you down, hold you down. You know, just keep going. What does it say about my personality?
What does it say about both of ours?
Yeah, that I immediately I'm like, oh yeah, that you know that's what it
Like,
means.
I hear you, man. Screw connections. Moss sucks. Like, well, no, Moss is like actually a positive in this particular analogy. Nah, man, get that moss off me. I don't want to be a mossy boy.
I'd be very interested to hear people leave a comment wherever you're listening to the show. How did you going into
How
this?
did you interpret it?
Yeah, how did you interpret it? Because both of those are, I think, completely fair interpretations. It's just very interesting that we came at it from such a different angle. I do think in both of those instances, though, where they land in the episode about it being about moss growing on a rock, completely
That's
makes
the
sense.
point. Yes. That's the point.
Yeah.
Because you would think, I guess I'm thinking of like snowball physics, but like if that's what it were about, it'd be like, yeah, Rolling Stones, like they get bigger because of all the moss they're picking up. You know?
Yeah,
Like,
true.
I don't think in any interpretation that's what like it's meant to be.
Wait, that's not what you thought it meant when you said.
Well, so we have a third
have a
interpretation,
third
on the
interpretation.
table now, which is that they defy the laws of physics and snowball. I like that one.
I do actually.
You
like
gather homes. You gather homes the more you travel.
What was the video game where you're the little ball that rolls and just picks up a bunch of crap as you go? That's what I'm picturing.
Oh no! I know.
Listeners
what it
are
is.
shouting at their phones right now.
They're shouting. This is one of those big ones too that has like super committed fandom that are going to be incredibly upset with us.
It does.
It's not. I mean, it's not like it is a Japanese word, so I'm not gonna hate myself too much. Definitely a little, just not too much.
Katamari
Inappropriate
Damacy.
amount.
Katamari Damacy.
I did know that. You play as the little guy and he
Yeah,
gathers
you're a
stuff.
little dude. That's what I'm picturing, but it's a rock and moss. That's our third philosophical interpretation.
Could be a great game.
Yeah.
Could be a great game.
Also, not the point, but that game was on PlayStation 2. I just
that
realized. My God, I'm old.
Yeah, but just you. We're not the same. We're not the same age.
Talking about Mythbusters and Katamari Damacy. 90s and 2000s kids are loving this show right now.
Oh no. Oh no.
I did also, to this point, so the test on this, yes, it is kind of like watching paint dry in the sense that this is going to go on for months. I did love this giant rock tumbler rig that they make that has to actually keep the rocks rolling for ultimately 6 months over the course of this test. It just seems like one of those. I was thinking about the logistics of that, of like somebody every day has to go in and make sure the rock tumbler is still going, and it's like in the back of the shop just clunking all the time for 6 months. I was like, that would be so miserable to have around all the time. But
Because they probably learned that lesson after the plant one, the previous record holder.
was
Because
on the
they
roof.
didn't check it regularly and a whoopsie doopsie.
Yep. Oh
We
man,
made a little poopsie.
that's the brown note. We're going back to brown note now. They also didn't go into, and I get why, but they never really gave a reason, a scientific reason behind this, that the rolling would not allow moss to grow significantly. Maybe it's supposed to be kind of self-explanatory, but I did think that was interesting that they didn't go deep on the idiom, and they didn't really go deep on the science. They kind of went in the middle.
Yeah. I don't think plants love friction. But
Yeah.
What do I know? I did love the, again, pretty long animation in this one.
Yeah.
Because obviously they weren't. Now, that was actually kind of strange to me that I was for sure thinking that they would at least keep the camera trained on it for maybe 2 days and then speed that up real fast. I don't know. I don't know, but just especially since they like drew a spiral in it. So like the second they drew the spiral, I was like, I can't wait to see that sped up. And they did a little animation about a gopher coming out of his home in spring and going back in the winter. And
It was pretty cute.
We're like, all right, there we go. It's like, oh, so I don't get to look. Well, we'll show you what happened. Right.
Yeah.
But okay. Sure. Why not?
What'd you think of the Moss Professor? I love this man. Yet again, he takes me right back to Dr. Eel, you know?
Moss Professor.
we have
the
something-
soft-spoken moss head.
Yes. Who's so
Also-
into moss.
Yes. I forgot his name at one point because they kept calling him Professor Moss. And I was like, ain't no way his name is Moss. Is that true? And I took it back and it wasn't Moss. But now I've just remembered Professor Moss. It's
Yeah.
like,
It sounds like a Pokemon character. Like, go meet Professor Moss in the lab.
oh, that would be a really good one.
Doesn't it?
Yeah. Because, see, everybody's thinking trees.
Yep.
Maybe a bush here and there, but not Cliff. Cliff is on that next level. Cliff is on moss level.
See,
That's a stone that does gather moss.
and I feel like all of our like rogues gallery of side characters this season is really getting filled out nicely. Like last season we had Dr. Eel and we had the wolf from Pulp Fiction, and now we've got, Professor Moss. Pretty good entry in that.
Professor Moss.
And
the return.
and Rock
the
Jamie.
Schwank. The Schwank strikes back. Rock Jamie. Again, don't understand, but whatever.
A rolling Jamie gathers no moss.
I say we end on that.
Well, that is actually the result that they find, which is pretty fascinating. I really didn't. I remembered that this myth happened. I did not remember what the result was. And getting to the end, after 6 months, they look at the results. All of the stationary rocks they had grew moss. They had a little bit of issue along the way. They had to redo some stuff. But the ultimate result was that stationary rocks did, in fact, grow moss, and the rolling stones grew nothing. So there is actually some truth behind this, which I thought was pretty fun. I know that the idioms are a little bit tricky, but I liked where this one went and where it ended up.
You will accumulate no grain, no sweet, sweet cashola if you're rolling around all day. That's what it means, right?
I totally agree, and so I would say this proverb gets the Mythbusters seal of approval. A rolling stone does not gather any moss.
That's the spirit.
Yes.
So it's confirmed. Okay.
Myth 3, Shop Vac Jet Engine. Pure
What a
Mythbusters engineering here. I love it.
What a name.
Comes from a story about a guy who was in his yard cleaning his pool when he heard an explosion at the house next door. He went to check it out, and he found that his neighbor was using a shop vac to suck sediment out of a boat's gas tank. And the vapors of the gas apparently went through the shop vac, got into the engine, and it exploded and turned the shop vac into some sort of jet-powered engine.
Rock on, dude.
And I gotta say, I did not remember, for all of my Mythbusters fandom and how much I have seen the show and loved the show, I had forgotten just how many vacuum cleaners are on the show.
There are so many, and it brings back one of my favorite characters.
Yes.
Who really solidified his position with this particular appearance. But that's the vacuum cleaner store guy that is referred to as Adam's nemesis. I don't think that's fair. I don't think that's fair at all.
That man did nothing wrong. Adam did all of that to himself.
Adam picked a fight with a vacuum cleaner while that man stood nearby, and now he's a nemesis? No, that is not fair. I refuse. Maybe the vacuum cleaner is his nemesis.
Yeah.
Again, Adam picked that fight and lost. Not his fault. The vacuum cleaner, I mean. He was a boy vacuum cleaner. However, I will not take
You tell by the
sort
hose.
of bad mouthing.
That's my revenge for you breaking me earlier.
Oh, buddy. Look. Penis jokes are always allowed in my book.
It's
That's
always-
all I'm gonna say.
they always
That's
land.
all I'm going to say. That's just there's never a time that's not good for it. Not
To-
right.
To Adam's credit, he does make fun of himself and tell a story. My advice: keep your mouth far away from vacuum cleaners when you're there. He is not the one calling this guy his nemesis, but I think there could actually be truth to it. Because when they go to the vacuum man, as I believe we dubbed him last time we saw
sure
him
didn't
here
we?
on the show.
Thank you. Yeah.
One of the first things he does is go, "You want to start a fire?" And he just squirts lighter fluid directly onto a vacuum engine and lights it on fire in his shop.
In his own shop.
And even Tori, we have seen the Mythbusters cause a lot of fires in their own shop. But even Tori is like, Are you sure you want to do this in here?
Tori, who, remember, his mission is to gather parts to build a homemade jet engine.
Yes.
That man is like, oh, I don't think that's safe. Are you sure, vacuuming? Are you sure? Because I just can't imagine that, and it's on fire. Great.
Right.
He's like, oh, don't worry. We got a fire extinguisher.
I love
Like-
that
on the other side of the shop.
I also love, it didn't really make any sense. This myth
No,
is,
he didn't have to do it.
well, see, this whole myth is one of those things that it's a format that we know and love on the show, where it's really about, we're going to take an idea, we're going to give it a rudimentary test, and when it doesn't work, we just get to build something crazy and awesome, which I have no problem with that. I that's great. But the funny thing is, they find out pretty quickly that where the airflow in a shop vac and the engine are in two completely separate places. So you're not going to get vapor and fumes and gas actually into the engine, so this is not possible. But they send Tori to the vacuum man ostensibly to say, we need to find out if older vacuum cleaners could potentially have been set on fire. The vacuum man proceeds to pour lighter fluid on it, light it on fire just sitting there, and Tori comes back and is like, well, we did find out that vacuum cleaners can light on fire. And it was like, yeah, if you dump them in gas and set them on fire, it will. That had nothing to do with the actual parameters of this whatsoever.
What I respect about vacuuming is that they bring him questions and he's immediately like, let's find out.
Yeah.
No, that's actually what we're doing. I'm all right. I've already started. I've already begun. There's no stopping this now. Train has left the station, friend. I don't know what to tell you.
He's like, last time you guys were here, you injured yourself in my shop. If anybody's hurting anybody in my shop, it's me. All right?
It's going to be me.
It's going to be me.
And sweet, sweet fire. Anyway, hand me that blowtorch. I
love the man.
I don't know.
He's great.
Okay, so that was kind of like part of him acquiring all the materials to build this jet engine.
Yeah.
Then they really breeze past this, but Carrie is like injured at one point
For like
Do
one
you
scene.
think- Here's the thing. Do you think that happens in a different episode?
Ooh, good question. It very
I
well
feel
could.
like logic says yes, but at the same time, I feel like I would have heard about that if a cast member got hurt enough to where they needed, what
Yeah.
appeared to be at least a boot and crutches.
I'm pretty sure that she doesn't get hurt doing something on the show. It doesn't get hurt as a result of an experiment, because you're right. I think we would have heard about that before, but it is entirely possible that we get a couple episodes down the road and she's on crutches the whole time or something. Because it was only one scene in this. It's when they go to that kitchen store for him to get all the supplies. She's on crutches, so they have to mention it for a moment, and then the rest of the episode she's not. So it was very
Exactly.
odd.
So now I've got like an eye out for it, where it's going to be like one of those identifying markers where it's like, aha, this is filmed at the same time as this, and
Yeah.
I can tell that because of X, Y, and Z.
And I haven't been looking for it. I guess we can also look for this going on, but I've never, we noticed the prison cell from the salsa escape. We noticed that being in the back of the shop for a while. That doesn't seem to be there anymore. So that, I guess we are fully past that now that we're through that episode. But I never noticed the rock moss tumbler anywhere. But it would have been there for a significant portion of the show. If it's there for 6 months of filming. That's
it had to. It's not exactly. It's not like they would have just like shut down production.
That's like almost a full
we
season.
cannot move on
Yeah.
until we've done the damn rock thing.
yeah, exactly. So we'll have to keep an eye out to see if it pops up. I am very interested in that, the strange television timeline behind the scenes on the show.
Yeah, I would also love to ask next time that we have like a writer or producer on, I would love to ask them how far in advance they were aware which myths were like paired together.
Like within an
I
episode.
guess tripled up. Yeah. Like, did they just have a slate of myths and they were going to figure that out in post, or were they fully aware that it gets that becomes a bit clearer once you have like the theme episodes where we're still kind of in the Wild West as far as like what's being paired off.
I do know when we had Anthony Griffiths on the show, we did ask him about that from a writing perspective. And he said
Yeah.
that when the episodes got to the writing team, it was everything. It was already, those myths were all together. So I don't know on the front end. That would be the other question, is how far, as you're saying, how far in advance do you know? Are they
That's
actually
more what-
planning them to go
Exactly.
together, or is it more, here's what's shot at this moment, we're going to put these together and send that episode off? I would, my guess, I'll just wager a guess. I would guess they planned to do them together.
See, that's what I would have said. But the middle myth in this is what made me start thinking about this. Because you're back 6 months.
Yeah.
There's no way that they could have known, you know? Like, I mean, in all likelihood, that was shot actually like a while ago.
Yeah. Now that might be an outlier.
This is when it happens to. You're
Just
right.
because it takes so long, that could also be in. Because a lot of the times, I feel like for the most part, they're not grouped together by theme. They seem to be grouped together mainly by length and not putting like two, gas in a box type myths in the same episode. So I would imagine in that sense, they
Unless
probably.
you're the vacuum man.
Unless you're the
Then you
vacuum
can put
man
the gas in a box
who's
and
gonna
light it on fire.
whether they ask you to or not.
They're not. I assure you they won't. But you know what to
But
do.
you're gonna make it happen. So yeah, it's at this point though that the myth transitions to Tori's job is basically to just can we make a DIY jet engine out of mostly home parts? And the one that he makes, I mean, it looks fantastic. It has very, very little to do with a shop vac by the time he's done with it.
Pretty sleek though.
It is pretty sleek. It looked
lie.
very Acme to me.
That's what I was gonna say. You throw Wile E. Coyote up there.
I know.
Back to the Acme days. I feel like we've been moving away from the Acme, and we're back, baby.
Yeah, I'm in
We're
for.
back to highly irresponsible mechanisms.
Yes.
Little home machines.
Well, just a little tease. I did look ahead as to what's coming next week. You talk about some highly dangerous home machines. It's
Cannot wait.
It's ramping up. The show is really ramping up as we go through.
Cannot wait.
But again, building a rocket, better test it indoors, in the shop, bolted to the ceiling. Only place to do it.
Sure.
Yep, that's the plan. And
Quite frankly, at this point, the only thing that's surprising about that is that he didn't insist on riding it.
real Dr. Strangelove kind of thing.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Like he's got a cowboy hat that he's just like waving around.
I would love to see that, honestly. I think that would have been a great promotional image for the show. It's just Tori on a giant rocket doing the slim pickings.
They could use that forever.
Yeah.
That could just be the whole show. Is that on loop
Yes, I'd watch
every
it.
week? I would too. You know I would.
It takes a while to get the rocket to light, but eventually they do actually get the rocket to go. They're using the vacuum to just provide pressure, which is part of what actually makes something a jet engine as opposed to other types of engines. But they do get it to go. They get a little bit of thrust out of it, but not a whole lot. And that combined with everything they learned about the real shop vacs leads them to say that this myth is busted. This one to me, like
Now,
I said.
here's a question.
Oh yeah, go ahead.
They had another little video of a woman, like it was made to look out like it was from like the 40s maybe.
Oh,
something
yeah.
like that. And she was vacuuming, and then the like vacuum just it starts to lift off like a rocket engine, like carries her off into space. Do you think they made that, or was that like a pre-existing?
I had the same question. Because
I don't know why I got obsessed over that. But
well,
I was like,
when it first started, it looked like they were adding graphics or adding fire to an existing thing, and then it kept going.
yes.
And by the end,
she
it was
went
like
full into space.
And I was like, oh, this was intended to be that. This was made to be that, and I can't think of why anybody else would do that. So
right.
I don't know. That's a great question.
Could be an old ad. I don't know. No, it couldn't be an old ad because like the effects were actually like pretty good. Like it couldn't have been made in whenever it was supposed to be like aping.
Right.
You know?
Right.
But
Yeah.
if you know the answer, tell us in your 4-star review.
Yeah, maybe that's out there somewhere. Maybe that is an existing thing that was on TV at the time or something, and they used it. I don't know, but that was great. That was a really funny little bumper that they used.
Someone writes in, it's like, how did you think we got to the moon, boy? What, you don't watch the news? Like, come on.
But yeah, this myth ultimately was busted. I thought this one was fun.
Busted.
It's pretty, like we said, it's really there so that you can get the DIY in the building and the craziness and the silliness, and I'm a fan of that. Kind of light on the actual myth side, but the build was really fun and overall
Great to watch.
Yeah, great to watch, as was this whole episode. I thought this was just fun all the way through, and like you said, they're really firing on all cylinders from a production standpoint. It's just it's great. We're in a really good run of episodes now.
I do feel like we're in the golden age.
Yeah,
Or at least thereabouts. We're like approaching it, which lasts for a very long time. But
that's the thing. That's what's going to be so interesting is we've been saying that now for a little bit this season of like, hey, it's here, but we still haven't even met Grant yet. So it's like, man, we're going to have another huge change and addition to the show that is yet again the thing that I remember as being iconic and being the show that I remember. So it just keeps going. It's going to be interesting to see how long that piece does last, because we got a lot left, and it's still coming together. So
well, I'm game if you're game.
here we go. We're gonna keep going. Hope you guys will join us next week. Our myths are, this is where I was teasing earlier. Our myths are jetpack.
Oh,
And
hell yeah.
And pyramid power. Really interesting episode.
The pyramid power, if it's what I'm thinking of, does it have to do with like Giza?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. This is probably my favorite episode. Apart from there's one where they try out a bunch of Batman stuff that I remember. But that is yes, this is my like favorite episode we're about to watch.
Oh, that's
that
awesome.
I remember. I
That's-
reserve the right to change that.
That's really cool. We hope you guys
We
will
watch it and it's just like insanely racist. And aged super
Oh,
poorly.
this is why you liked it, huh, Harrison? Whoa.
Okay. All right. I see you, Stewart.
We hope you guys will go out and watch that episode. And while you are finding it and you're clicking around on the internet, I hope you will leave us a rating and a review wherever you listen to the show. It does make a big difference. Yes, I stumbled over my words, and Harrison's making faces at me now as a result of that. I know what I said, but I'm standing by it.
And I meant it.
And I'm powering through. But until then, thank you guys for listening, and we'll see you next week.
Bye-bye, babies.
Try This at Home is produced by Slugline Media. The show is written, hosted, edited, and shot onto the internet by Cliff Bumgardner and Harrison Stewart. Our music is by the mysterious Breakmaster Cylinder. You can follow the show on Instagram @TryThisPod or email us trythisathomepod@gmail.com.